Hello and welcome to part 7 in our acoustic guitar series to make your playing more interesting. Today we're going to talk about a technique which is going to add a little bit of percussion to your acoustic guitar playing, and I like to call it the Mayer right hand rhythm slap. Now John Mayer isn't the only person to do this. Lots of other people have done it. It's featured in songs like More Than Words by Extreme. Jason Mraz does this in a whole bunch of different songs, but it adds some really interesting percussive effects to your acoustic guitar playing. And it's really good for situations where there is no percussion in your band, or if you're just playing solo or playing in a duo. You can just add a little bit more interest with this right hand and what's going on. So we're going to talk about our first technique. It's a little bit easier, and it's just a very simple slap on beats 2 and 4, and it's going to simulate a snare drum. And this is featured on such songs as More Than Words by Extreme. Just adds a little bit more percussion to it, makes it very interesting and very easy to follow as a listener. It's also used by Ed Sheeran on a whole bunch of songs, and it's actually also used by John Mayer on the song Why Georgia, which is what we're going to play for and talk about today. So the best way of explaining this technique is you're basically punching the strings with your fingertips. You're keeping your fingers as if you're going to finger pick, and you're going to hit the strings rather than going just underneath them like you would if you were finger picking. You're just resting your hand there. And a lot of the sound from this actually comes from your thumb hitting that low E string, or whatever string you want to hit. You kind of just let it fall. I kind of think of it as like it's rising, and it's just going to fall and it's going to slap those strings. It's very similar to a slap bass technique. So we're going to start off by playing the example Why Georgia by John Mayer. It's going to sound like this. Without the slap, doesn't have the same groove. With the slap, and now for our made up example. So we're going to use 4 simple chords. We're going to play G, E minor 7, C add 9 and D. If not familiar with these chords, they're very similar to regular G, E minor, C and D chords, except we're going to keep this ring finger right here. It's going to stay on that 3rd fret of the B string all the way through. So you've got your G, then you go to a regular E minor chord, then you're going to go to a C, so you're going to have to swap your fingers around a little bit. It's a little bit like a regular G chord, just squished in, and then we're going to change to a regular D chord. And nice and slowly, we're going to go. Again, slowly with the slap. Bit quicker. Without the slap. Slap. So once you get these techniques, you can apply them very easily to whatever chord progression you like, which is what we're doing there. So we're now going to move on to our second example, and this is more of the John Mayer style. This technique is tough at first, but the best thing to do is to practice the strum index and hit with the thumb with the strings ringing out. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the D string and the B string together on a D chord, or in D sus2 actually, so you're going to leave that middle finger out. That's the first step. You want to get that strum with that index finger. And we're going to play a little. So what I'm doing there is I've got my thumb and my index finger here in kind of a hook motion, and as I'm striking down like that, I'm hitting any of these lower strings. To be honest, I've got it notated as a D string, but it's going to create a muted sound whatever you do. And it's about getting that thumb hitting, and it's going to be on beats 2 and 4 again. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4. it's important to note, as I pointed out there, it's absolutely fine to make a couple of mistakes. That was intentional, of course, because this is more about practicing what our right hand is doing, because this technique, like all the other lessons in our series and all the other techniques we looked at, is going to stay exactly the same regardless of what the chord is. We just need to move this hand around to whatever strings we want. So once again, slowly. So two together, strike and hit that string, and then we're doing a middle finger upstroke, and then thumb, index, stroke. Once you've got used to that, you can move this shape around and you actually get the song Stop This Train by John Mayer. It's very, very similar shapes moving up the fretboard. So you start with this D chord shape. What we're actually going to do is we're going to swap out one of the fingers. We're going to use these middle two fingers, almost like you have a D minor, but you're going to leave that index finger free, and I'll show you why in a sec. Because that's our first chord. Then we're going to move up to the 6th and the 7th fret, and we're going to move this ring finger down a string, or up a string, to the high E string. And then we're just going to move to that pointing finger on the 5th fret. And then we're going to come back down here in kind of a weird D sus kind of shape. Some very interesting notes happening there. But it's the same shape we started with, but without that middle finger. Nice and slowly we get without any slaps. With the slap. Quicker. And at the beginning here, hammer on that extra note to get back to the beginning. Different effects, as I just proved, by depending on how hard you get used to slapping that thumb. When you start building really, really good independence in that thumb, you can slap nice and gently, you can slap really, really hard if you want it to sound a lot more pronounced. So gentle, more pronounced. The other thing to note here is what happens to the bass line, because we're playing a D string all the way through. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it sounds like a train moving. So we're now going to apply that to our same made up example as before, our G, E minor, C, D chords. I'm doing exactly the same pattern as used in Stop This Train. Just by changing the chords, it makes it sound more unique and less like we're just ripping off a John Mayer song, which is what I'm trying not to do here. So here's a made up example using those chords. So you have G, E minor, C, and D. And so far with this, we've been letting those strings ring out. So in our next example, we're going to mute that strike. So it's the same technique we did before, but we're going to use this part of our palm right here that we'd use for palm muting. There we go, bit of metal for you. We're going to use that same part of our palm, and as we're striking the strings, we're going to mute. Rather than having it ring out. And this makes it a little bit more subtle and a bit more choppy. So we get... sounds even more percussive. And for this example, we're going to play a song called Who Says by John Mayer. A lot of chords in this song. We get D, G, D over F sharp, E minor 7, A diminished, B minor 7, E7, G, A, D. And a bit quicker. And slower. It's important to note here that we have two different patterns going on. We have the main chord patterns, then we have the kind of descending patterns where it just plays a couple of chords in the bar. So for example, we start with our normal pattern, and then right here we get a little walk down to that E minor 7 chord. It's important to note that we're still keeping that sort of chunking on beat 2 and 4, that chug, chunk, chunk, chunk. Don't really know what else to call it, that kind of slappy percussive sound. Our snare drum. So we get D. So for our final example, this is our made up chord progression we used before. We have our 2 bars of G, 2 bars of E minor, 2 bars of C, and 2 bars of D. And we're going to use our same moving bass line we used in our previous lessons. So for our G chord, we're going to play the E string and then the D string. So beat 1, beat 3, beat 1, beat 3, then E minor. We're going to do the A string, and then C. We're going to do the A string, and then the E, A, E, and then D string, A string, D string, A string for the D chord. It's going to sound something like this. A bit quicker. And that brings us to the end of today's acoustic guitar lesson. I hope you got a lot out of this in learning this new technique. As I said at the start, if you know the name of this technique, if it has an official correct name, please do let me know so I'm not just calling it the right hand John Mayer rhythm slap or whatever I ended up calling it. All I know is it's a very, very good acoustic percussive technique that once you get used to it, you can apply it to any chord sequence. Make it a lot more interesting to listen to and a lot more interesting to play as well, rather than just always strumming chords. So if you did enjoy today's lesson, please do leave a comment below and subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow the Facebook group where it has high quality versions of these tabs and you get updated on what's happening. We're now on lesson 7 of this acoustic guitar series. I plan to go as far as 9 or 10. I'm still working on some aspects of that, but I've definitely got 8 and 9 planned and trying to work out what the best option for the finale is. So if you have any ideas on any techniques that you would love to see covered, that you've been investigating, you've been trying, and you haven't quite got used to and got to grips yet, please do let me know as well, and I'll see if I can get those covered as well. And always ask questions. Questions are a great thing. So I hope you have a great day, get practicing, and we'll see you again soon.